All right, guys, it has been a minute. I know I look crazy. I didn't cut my hair yet, so I'm looking super dingy, but we're going to create in Suno Studio today. And I'm going to show you guys a new feature called the inspo feature. So hello and welcome to busyworksbeats.com. So let's hop straight into it. If you don't know me, I'm Game from busyworksbeats.com. We trained over 1 million producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Glorilla. Some have won Grammy, some have won platinum plaques. So that's and now if you want to see those testimonials, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium or go to my Instagram and look at the student highlights right there under the highlights tab. So we're in Suno Studio. For those who don't know, Suno is more than just a generation tool. You can now arrange with it and you can extract stems with it. And you can also generate unique instruments per your song arrangement. I know that sounds crazy, but you could basically, if you wanted a drum line for your beat that doesn't really have a nice drum line, you could highlight an area, say generate drum line, and it will do it. So let's use a new feature though, called the inspo feature. This requires what we call a playlist. So once you save a bunch of samples you like, add them to a playlist. So you may ask, okay, how do we add stuff to a playlist? You can click on this library tab here. This has all your stuff in it. Find the sound you want, click these little 3 dots, go to add to playlist, and you can pick whatever playlist you want. So I have some sorted already just for today. So what we're going to do is click on inspo, and it's going to ask you which playlist do you want to basically analyze all the songs in the playlist that you like, and it's going to find the commonalities between those songs. And this is one of the unique things about Suno Studio as well, is that the way it analyzes audio is really, really well done. And even if you don't know anything about music, it will basically do all the music-y stuff for you so you don't have to prompt super hard. Okay, so now we have some inspo. It's going to load up about 4 of those records. I think we could play them from here. Make sure you guys can hear this audio. So it has that like 80s vibe on this one. So what we're gonna do is just create some lyrics here. I'm just gonna do simple stuff.
Girl, I wanna love you. Ain't no one above you. You're the apple of my eye.
Okay, so I'm copying the lyrics from this song.
Like a diamond in the sky.
And then here go, it jumps up. Just crazy. So these are generations we had from before. And what it's doing is finding, I don't know why this one won't pause. Okay. So when you hit play, they don't stop. Don't stop, literally. Okay, so as I gotta talk over this, it's a little weird, you can't pause it. Maybe because it's Google Chrome. But dang. Okay, so anyway, I have the lyrics here. Sorry to shout over this. And we're gonna go to where it says styles. And let's type in go-go music or something, just different genres, okay? So we're gonna hit create. Now, before we hit create, we wanna make sure we put this in the right bucket of stuff called a workspace. So the workspace is where we organize the samples. Sorry, y'all. Is it gonna play every sample? They need to give us a stop button. This is outrageous, okay. Okay, anyway, so under style, sorry about that, y'all. Type in the genre you guys want. And I don't mess with the advanced features, and we are going to put them in a workspace, which is basically a bucket of stuff. Okay, this one's called the YouTube live stream. So what I like to do is I take a source material, we're analyzing it to find the commonalities in it, basically extracting the DNA of multiple songs to figure out what's in common. And then we organize it just like with humans. We say, okay, we're a species, we're a family, we're a genus and all that type of stuff. We're finding the commonalities between mammals and primates and whatever other else things are out there. Okay, and then basically we are amalgamizing or synthesizing a new, I'll say genre, but a new structure of DNA from all these different things with the inspo. Okay, and then we could try different styles of music. And here's where we merge DNA, similar to like you have one parent and another parent, and then you merge them together. So think of styles as like another parent, metaphorically speaking. And let's just do R&B modern. You got to be very specific with the type of R&B. And let's do 1970s black soul. Somebody asked me how to get more accurate soul stuff. Just type in black soul. I found that that really gives the sound that we're going for. because I think the system doesn't know the difference between Southern soul and black soul sometimes, and it kind of, or R&B and soul. It's a kind of loose term. So let's see our first one based around go-go music, based on our material.
I love you. Ain't no one above.
So in your head, you might be like, what if I had a 1980s song and we merged it with go-go music? And as you hear, that wasn't the greatest, metaphorical song child. So sometimes in our head, we think merging, heavy reverb with loud 808s and, a harmony from, we think all these elements are going to sound good together. And then you're like, they don't sound good together. And this is why I love Suno, because you can iterate through so many ideas quickly without committing an hour of time to expressing just one of these concepts. It saves so much time. And we could always produce around this stuff. And I'll show you guys what I'll do too. So let's type in hip hop, even though we're not going to be able to really sample hip hop. We did R&B hip hop. Let's do neo soul just as a little bonus one. All right, so let's hear the second go-go. Second go-go song here. Now, instead of styles, you can also put in artist styles too, but it won't let you put keywords of artists. So my Suno studio course, I go through my entire process of how we get songs like Quincy Jones or like Marvin Gaye style or Curtis Mayfield style. So I go through all these different ways of going about that. It's not super secret. It's just I have a lot more of my workflow as a music producer in my actual course because it covers every single step that I would do, including going into Logic Pro. So let's hear what this sounds like. So I'll show you guys how to mix this music to sound more realistic. Now this sounds hard. Uncle Charlie.
I love you.
Let me go back a little bit. See how it glitched right there? That's where Suno Studio may come into play on how to fix stuff like that. But that definitely just glitched.
I love you. Ain't no one above.
Again, not what I thought it would sound like. Okay, so this is probably where we're putting too many ingredients in the metaphorical dish, and it's just gonna taste like whatever because it's just too much going on. Like imagine you had a Thanksgiving dinner, cranberry sauce, turkey, macaroni and cheese, greens, green beans, whatever your family makes, mashed potatoes, rice, whatever. And then you're like, okay, you have this plate full of separate foods, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, all right, time to blend it. You throw it in a blender, you blend it up, and now you have to drink your dinner. It's just not the same thing when you have to combine all those ingredients. So that's what happens sometimes when you try to do too many genre concepts. All right, so here's the more simplified. This part's dope. Yeah, that part we could use for a hip hop beat. Okay, so this is like a crazy science experiment, but sometime, and this is where it's going to be a little more hit or miss because again, you're trying to combine all these random things together. But it is a cool science experiment because I would never think to do something this kind of wild. That's sampleable right there. Let's download this for further examination. Let's download the wave. All right, so this approach, I'll say I got to be honest with you guys and say this one is a little more hit or miss than the simple just generate with one style. When you combine multiple styles using this inspo feature, if they're different styles, like dramatically different, you may find it that you have to generate even more to get to where you're trying to get to. So we have one idea. We could start with one loop area. So I like that groove. I like the groove. I'm not sure I'll use it, but I do like the sorry. I like that groove. So let's save that. So I'm going to speed run these next ones because we have a lot of generations to go through. So hopefully you guys can see from the outside in, we're not using Suno to do everything for us. We're trying to find ideas in the music that we could flip. And then what we're going to do next is go into Suno Studio and we're going to generate even more ideas so that we can arrange in our DAW to have more materials to work with. Because the problem that we have as music producers is you might get a dope 4-bar loop, but when you repeat a 4-bar loop over and over and over again, it gets super repetitive. So we need things that are, we need variables. And the way we create variables is by creating subtle differences over time. And that's where Suno Studio gives us a leg up. Not the echo, not the AI echo. So this feels very Will Smithy. I like the groove, but the music kind of threw me off. Like the actual music theory. This might be it right here. So we're hearing that 1980s groove, but in this like 1970s style. So this is why I like Suno. You can do such crazy stuff. So this is the hip hop version. Hip hop, he's like, you're the apple of my eye. I could sample like this and chop it up just in different ways. Like a diamond in the sky. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah, we're sampling that. Oh shoot, man. So this one, the key to the inspo is to find the genre that actually combines the genres in the inspirational tracks. So hip hop is known to sample from all different genres. And this is why this one connects the best. It's because it's not trying to force R&B idea rhythms and grooves onto all these other genres. That's okay. So you have to really be, I can't even say knowledgeable because this is more of an experiment, but you do have to know something about music and genres and how they collide and clash to kind of get the best out of this inspo, in my opinion. So what we're going to do, I think we found it, the one. We're going to drag this into Suno Studio and we're going to line it up with this first one. Very important to go in here, make sure it's lined up because right here, it's before the one. So make sure you just drag this over. All right, so it took a while to get here, but we're here. Okay, so now that we are at this point, let's save our, let's rename this project. Let's call this like YouTube. I'm not really live, so let's call it YouTube 1 and inspo feature. All right, so let's go all the way back. I'm going to rename this to full track. You're the apple of my eye, like a diamond in the sky. Oh, that's so catchy. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to add a track. And here's the unique thing you could do with Suno Studio that you cannot do in just simple generations. So we can highlight per track and per, like 8 bars, 4 bars, whatever. We can click here and we can generate specific instruments. So let's say we want some more bongos or something in here. Let's go to percussion and let's type in bongos and congas. This is going to give us more of a Marvin Gaye type style or like Curtis Mayfield, that 1970s vibe. Let's add another track and let's just do another instrument. Let's add some. I found that bongos are my favorite. Guitar is good. This track doesn't need guitar though. And what else? We could do backing vocals and let's just give it some lyrics, just oohs and ahs. We don't want to go crazy with the lyrics here because we don't want the lyrics in the background to stand out too much. And then we'll put a style here. So if you want the full screen, click here. And let me switch sides. There you go. So you guys could see the other side. And now we're going to give it a style. So we're going to say R&B, female singer, and then modern. And let's just create. So you don't want to, I've noticed that there's a lot of people teaching prompts and all this stuff, but with Suno Studio, the more simple, the better. Anytime I prompt super detailed, unless it's built around an artist's style, you're going to get kind of like a wacky output. So sometimes it's better to just know the exact words and the exact genre to put in and not to overly complicate it. So here's the percussion. Let's mute this vocal track for now. That's a hard bongo track.
You're the apple of my eye, like a diamond in the sky.
Let's go. Bongos for the win. All right, let's see what these backing vocals sound like. Now, this sounds like more than backing vocals here. Okay, they did everything except vocals. What the? I've noticed with some of these tabs, it just is just random. So that is not a backing vocal. That is a guitar. So some categories, that's why I usually stick with either guitar, percussion, bass, or bass, guitar, drums, just the simple ones. I don't use all these kind of miscellaneous ones like effects, synth, and all that. I just don't trust the quality of it. Let's try to run that one more time though. That definitely was not a backing vocal. We even gave it lyrics and it gave us a guitar riff. Okay, so if this doesn't give us background vocals this time, we're not going to obsess about it. But the cool thing we could do for music producers is we can export these as a multi-track. Now, before we do that, though, let's create stems from the original track. That way we have control over every single sound in this original take. So click on the top here, go to the right side, and let's go to where it says extract stems. And let me do this again because I think the screen reloaded. So go to extract stems and go to where it says all detected stems. Now, if you do all detected stems, keep in mind this will lower the quality because it has to basically regenerate every single instrument by itself. And I've noticed the dip in quality. So basically anytime you stem something out, you're going to lose a little bit of quality. And that's just the nature of stems because how does it know when it combines that it equals the same volume and all this type of stuff? So let's see if it gave us background. It still didn't give us backing vocals. What? Now, I'm not mad at this, but it's not doing what it says it's doing. Let's hear this all together. Now I want to hear it with the thing. Now, sometimes when you generate using this feature where you just kind of highlight an area and generate, you may have to move it around. So if you just naturally feel like something's off, it may just be off. Like right here, I can kind of see this is visually not lined up with stuff. So chances are this may be off right here. Okay, that's just how it is, I guess. It's playing a little syncopated, but see how it's like and it's not really lining up with the original. So this is, let's figure out where, okay, the original starts. Dun, dun. So around here at 11, that's when that dun, dun starts. Let's see when this one starts. So this starts like a half bar early. So let's drag it over a quarter beat, whatever that is. So like I said, you may have to drag stuff around if it sounds unnatural. And this is just too much instrumentation. As you guys can hear, it's very just like, it's just an explosion of sound. So this is where we're going to use this for arrangement and not for just stacking it over top of the track. So we're going to click in the top here and we're going to make sure this is on beat. This will basically time stretch the generation to match your original song. So now we have the stems over here on the right side. We're going to insert all. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can export these as a multi-track. So we're going to turn on the original track, unmute that. And we have each individual sound from the original song spread out into different pieces. So now let's get into Logic Pro, where I would, take this to the next step. And this is where our music, being a music producer, we just have a different way of going about Suno. I really wanted to share my workflow. So let's go to multi-track export, and we're going to pause the video. Once it's done, I'm going to load these up into Logic Pro. All right, so the export process took about 1 minute. Basically, we're going to click this folder and just unzip these by double clicking on it. So now we can go into Logic Pro. And all we need from Suno Studio at this point is the tempo. So let me switch my side here. So down here, it tells you the tempo of the original track. And it says 89 BPM. So this is, we want to use this as the starting point in Logic. Let's just type in 89. Now also too, you want to double check because sometimes it's not exactly 89. Like right here, it says 89.2. If you click on the BPM, it says 89.2. Now some people type in manual BPM, which is fine, but I like to have the original intent and not just me forcing a BPM on something, because then we have to deal with time stretch artifacts, which are microscopic differences from the original sound. Long story short, all right, so we put our little boy down for a nap, so we're back in at 8. All right, so here is all of the track, and basically what I did in Logic is I just moved this to the right so that I could better line up the actual BPM, because again, like I said, in Suno Studio, it says 89.2. And in Logic, you have to double click on the tempo and type in 89.2. And all I did was just find this is a little complicated, that's why I'm not going too deep with it. You basically just listen for the music to try to find what's called the downbeat. So 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and drop. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so right when it goes boom, 2, 3, 4, that's when I wanted to line up the audio. And it helps you line it up. So basically I made a slice here by hitting Command T in Logic Pro. And I'm using that to line up the bars. So basically in the beginning, this is not going to perfectly be lined up. If you just drag and drop audio into Logic Pro, it's not going to be lined up perfectly. As you guys can see, this is how much it's going to be off if we were to just drag and drop. So the time wouldn't line up. So that's my process of getting in the groove. Okay, so we have the metronome on so we can stay in the groove. So now let's talk about arrangement. So in the beginning of this track, remember we have all this generated stuff. So firstly, let's figure out what we want and what we don't want. Usually speaking, we don't bring in the bass right away. So we can right click and we can mute the bass in this case, in the beginning. And also heavy drums. We want to usually keep a lower, there's no rules to this, but usually it's a lower energy, so that we can contrast with the drop. And then it's going to drop into the highest energy right here. All right, so let's count out I think we have about 8 bars we could loop. And then the rest we're going to arrange for later. So I'm going to convert this into a hip hop beat. So what I want to do is interject drum ideas, bass ideas. So let's count out the bars. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it kind of fades out. Now at the end, we need to make sure the metronome lines up. See how it kind of goes into its ending sound. So we might not be able to loop 8 bars. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, chop. So what we can do here is, because we don't have 8 bars to chop, we're going to use 4 bars, and we're going to use this extra piece around here as like an alternative portion. So all we have to do is just count 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the playhead here. We're going to hit Command T. Let me highlight all these, hit Command T to chop at the playhead. So now we have this entire area that we could use as our main kind of music. Okay, now this section, we're going to count 2 more bars, 1, 2, because this is where it's lined up with the BPM until it gets off the BPM around here. Highlight all this, hit Command T. So when you're dealing with music that doesn't have a perfect BPM all the way through, you have to chop it into pieces if you plan to add your stuff into it. Because at the end, it's a varying BPM, so it's going fast and then slow. So it's going to be harder to produce around this in terms of looping it. So we're just going to leave that to some area way down here somewhere as an outro. Okay, so just move that out the way. So this is going to be a variation. Okay, so we're going to have 4 bars, but then this is going to be the variation. So what we can do, for example, is take this 2 bars, drag it to the right, and what do I say? 1, 2, 3. So there should be 2 bars and then these 2 bars. So boom. Let me zoom in. I don't know why this is not lining up. There we go. Okay, now double check, make sure this stuff lines up. I'm not the smoothest with Logic Pro's zoom in feature, as you guys can see. All right, so there is that lined up to bar 17 in this case. Now what we're going to do from here is copy this. But to be safe, we're going to move this out the way just so it doesn't copy over it. So I'm just going to move this to the right. We're going to copy this or hit Command R to a latch paste over. And we're going to take the last 2 bars, use this mask tool, and just get rid of the last 2 bars and drag the other 2 bars in. So now it won't just sound like we're repeating the same 4 bars. See how that vocal changes up? So it feels refreshing because we're not just repeating this piece over and over and over again. That's where a lot of amateurs kind of get stuck when they're arranging, is they just repeat the same thing over and over. So that's a way to create variation, is just to chop out that 2 bar change and add it in. So now let's talk about arrangement. Just the more puzzle pieces you have, the more arrangement things you could do. So we're going to highlight this, just hit Command R. And we're going to create, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do a 16 bar area for our verse in this case, because anything below 120 BPM, we're in regular BPM. Anything above 120 BPM, we're usually in double time in hip hop terms, meaning that 4 bars is really 2 bars. But in this case, 8 bars is really 8 bars. So what we can do to expand this into 16 bars, if we wanted a classic 16 bar verse, is just hit Command R in this case. Now we're going to remove something about the second half. So let's do stuff like take out the bass or take out the drums. Now I know for sure we're going to add our own bass. So we're probably either going to filter this bass or take it out completely. Let's do stuff like, lower the energy by taking out the bongos, for example. And we're just going to mute these, not delete them. Because remember, the bongo is something that we added to this arrangement. And now we can add our own hi-hats or whatever rhythmic thing we want here. Now on this second half, let's take out the this. Where's that track at? I think they called it the synth. Let's mute where the guitars are heavy. Oh no, here it is, right here. This track here. So this has the guitar that's added in. And now what we're doing is lowering the energy again before we go back into the high energy hook. So to clear some room, I'm going to start mixing here. Again, I don't want to make this video 1,000 years long. So we're going to add an EQ here. And we're just going to take out some of the low end of the bass, just so it doesn't clash with the kick. But we still feel it because of the harmonics. That doo, doo, doo. I'm even going to see if we could add some of my favorite thing called sample delay and add a left-right delay. to widen up that bass. So it's boom, 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 like that. And it widens up the track a little bit. So let me solo this so you guys can hear the effect. So here's before, where it's like boom, 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 boom. Okay, now we're gonna take away that low end bass so we can add our own kick. And then we're gonna add the sample delay. So it creates like a smattering sound. Now remember, their drums are pretty dominant in this track. If our drums, I'm gonna leave their drums as is. We're gonna layer our drums in as a new track. So let's create a new track here. Let's go to our browser and find some drums. I'm gonna go to my go-to drums, which I'm trying to think what kind of drums I wanna add in here. Let's go to my go-to drums. And again, you guys get the project file. So if I'm moving too fast, no worries. Grab this kick. We're going to drag it over here to where it says Drum Machine Designer. This will allow us to play each drum on a pad. So if I hit C on my keyboard, it triggers a kick. So now I can add a harder kick over top this track in the background. Because this kick is punchier. So I can gain inspiration in terms of a drum rhythm from the original sample. So it's just kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick. Pretty simple. And then they omit that kick on the downbeat. So pretty simple. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, blank, snare. Now, if you truly wanted to copy, you could just do that. But let's record this kick pattern. So really simple kick pattern. Now I copied the sample just so we don't have so many clashes. Let's go inside the double kick inside the kick here. And let's highlight this, hit Control A, hit Q to quantize. I have my strength all the way up on 1/16. Now we need a little swing for this genre. Do like ba-boom. Ba-boom is a swing sound. So it wouldn't be, without swing, it would be kick, snare, boom, boom. But we need it to go ba-boom. And that's where swing is. Actually, in this case, let me see how I played it. It might not need what I thought it needed. So I added a tiny bit. So if we're at like the smallest amount of swing, 53 is like a small amount. Okay, so now we need a snare that blends in. I could use a trap snare, but the trap snare would sound too like a jar. Like that is very aggressive compared to this track. We could use this kind of rolling clap. My ear though wants to hear an organic snare. So let's find just any kind of pack that we have organic snares from. Now, personally, if I remember to link it, below, I get these from the Drum Broker. You want to look for Beat Butcher stuff. He just dropped, what is this? Did I not put it in here? Filth Volume 8. I thought I put it in here. Maybe I need to re-index this. But anyway, he just dropped a new pack. So you guys want to make sure that you go to your Drum Broker to get the more acoustic sounds. So I don't know why that's not showing up. I swear I just put it in here. I guess I'm tripping. So let's do the older drums, which is the Saucy Loops. And this is 24-bit. And then let's do one shots, snare. Just need a simple snare. Let's open up the Drum Machine Designer over here. Just drag a snare onto a pad like that. Pretty simple. Now this snare has a gap in it, so I'm gonna get rid of this by moving this start point. Now we could add a hi-hat. I feel like that'd be overkill, but let's find a little simple hi-hat, drag it in. And now I could trigger this hi-hat with my MIDI controller. All right, so now we just got hi-hats and snares left here. So I'm gonna record this in. So I try my best to be a drummer there, finger drummer. Now I'm not going to quantize this because I want that natural offset timing. Now one thing we can do though is tune that hi-hat. It's just a little sharp. We're going to click this drop down for the track stack here and find the hi-hat over here and then open up what's called the sampler. This allows us to do stuff to the actual sound itself. And we're going to pitch this down a little bit. Maybe you're going to add a low pass filter to it just to muffle it a little bit. So again, those bongos are going to be a huge part of the rhythm, but we still need this hi-hat for when the bongos are taken out on the second half. If you guys remember that arrangement. So now that we have all this, we could hit Command R to copy it over. Now let's hear what it sounds like with our stuff when we drop out some of the sample. I feel like we need to add a bass. See how we have so much empty space now? Now to get rid of confusion, I'm going to mute their drums and see if I'm missing their drums. Okay, so we have enough room to add our own bass. And again, if I want to add more stuff, I might have to pull away some more tracks. But so far, I feel like it's not too cluttered. Let's make the drums hit a little bit more. Let's click on our drums and add a compressor. I'm gonna just show you guys stuff I would actually do here. Let's add a compressor. Let's run this through an FET compressor here and turn this on soft clip mode. So I like to push my drums into the compressor, pretty heavy. And now it has a crunch to it. Now the only thing that's kind of clashing with my ear is this bongo. I might just take out the bongo entirely and only leave it for the hook. Let's mute this. So now our ear will listen to our hi-hats and not the bongo going crazy. Let's also turn the hi-hat down a little bit. Let's add a bass here. Let's go. Let's add that studio bass. Let's figure out the root note. So I'm getting G. So that's groovy to me. Doom, 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 doom. So I'm playing G, which is the root note, and then D, which is a perfect fifth up. That's 7 notes up on the keyboard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to C, which is the G is the fifth of C, so we're basically playing fifths back to back. So let's record that in. Hopefully I don't mess up. So I did just switch up it. So I'm going to EQ out some of the high end of this bass. Now it is a little, the bass is a little not matching with the kick. It'd be safer to go follow the kick pattern, which is boom, boom, boom. But right around here where it goes, like, listen to the kick timing. Let me solo these, hold on. All right, so if we listen to the kick timing, see right here, dunk, dunk. So that's where I could probably be better with the timing, lining that up with the kick. So instead of dun, 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 I might just move this note to the drop, to the down beat. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. So right here, this syncopated note, dun, 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 it doesn't match with that kick. It might just be a little more groovy to line those up. Let's see, it may not. Let's just hear it in context. See how that small little change makes a huge difference. So let me see here. So I'm going to leave some syncopated notes so it's not all just robotic sounding. So these are little tiny edits, not something to, like, you know, go crazy about, but these are just little things about timing. See right here, when I go doom to doom, it's not matching with that kick, so it just makes it sound sloppy. Have enough variation there. Now going all the way back to the beginning of the bass, we want to make sure this first note, see how it hits before. I don't know if you guys can see. So see how it hits before the downbeat? It won't trigger if basically we have to highlight this, hit Q to quantize it. So it triggers. So you might hear a mute if you don't do that. Let's add a little more detail and flavor to our bass. I'm just going to go through different distortion and maybe like a wah pedal or something to really add that funk sound to it. wah pedal isn't what I... It's really hard to hear this. So this is the filter. Just trying to shape the tone here. It's a little complicated on like moving this around, but we'll figure it out. There we go. That's a little bitey to my ear. This may or may not work for this beat. Might be too funky. I just think it's a little too bitey for this beat. So a little saturation. So what else can we add to this without... I feel like those horns and the vocals can be muted. There we go. Now we have a lot more room. Quantize some of these bass notes. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to copy this over as a hook. We're going to take out our drums and add their drums. So we'll basically just unmute everything. Let me see if I can do this as a whole. Unmute, mute. And this should... So basically this will be just purely the verse area. So I can take out this like dramatic horn section here. Now we have a little more free room. I'm also going to cut this vocal at the echo point. I know I'm moving kind of fast, y'all, but it's just creative decisions at this point. Nothing too technical. Now I have to decide what's critical for the beat to have a feeling without being overkill. I feel like this is enough room where we could still add more instruments. Now to add our own instruments. Let's see what can we add in here. Let's figure out what key we're in. So we could add different stuff. The sound, I'm still debating what kind of sounds I want to add in here. I definitely want to add some kind of chords. I'm also going to add a little sample delay to the bass just because it's too quantized to the grid. It's going to delay these in time. Feels like a Tupac beat. From my early minions, I think I know what we're missing from the drums is an open hi-hat. because this is now giving me a Tupac vibe. We need an open hi-hat. Let's use this one. Again, I'm going to move a little bit quicker here, but we basically need to add a sustain to that open hi-hat. So when we play it and let it go, it basically turns off. So we're going to go to the envelope. And I think we need to change this to, so we have sustain. I forget how to trigger this as just sustain. Okay, so that's not doing anything. That's the hold. Not doing what I want it to do. And I don't have time to be figuring out the envelope situation. But basically, I needed to have the whole parameter that we do in FL. And I'm not remembering how to do that in Logic. I could just add a decay curvature manually. So here's what I'll do. I'll just fade it manually because I don't have time to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 3. There we go. Let's record this in. So I did kind of shorten it a little too much. Yeah, the ultimate goal would be to truncate that manually with the whole parameter, but I can't figure out how to do it. It's just like a hair too long. So see how we're locking in that groove because we're removing all the influence of the bongos and all that from the sample. Now let's just focus on our drums. I'm debating if I want to quantize our hi-hats. I think I want to. Let's quantize this. So we're quantizing with the swing. So that has a more predictable groove. Now, if I really wanted that Tupac sound, I would find this kick and I would layer it with the open hi-hat. Boom, tap, tap. So I might even go back and add some more kicks in here. It just feels a little bit more full with that kick. So now I'm debating how I'm going to do this. I guess we'll just record over what's existing. So now I'm going to doom, doom, doom. Actually, let me just redo the in kicks entirely. And now the kick, our new kick, will fit better with the bass because it has a little bit more bounce to it. I was recording into the next thing. Let me see how to fix this. How does that work? What bar are we at? 18. So I'm just removing some of the overlap MIDI. There, okay. And let's take this, roll it back, and then just hit Command R. This should. Okay, I got rid of too much. Let's do that again. So bar 19. All right, boom. Okay, boom. And then we're going to highlight this, hit Command R. So hopefully you guys understand my vision. I'm redoing some of that kick timing. Now, just so it stays in the groove, we're going to quantize it with the swing. So my strength here is 64 quantized at 53 swing. Let's make sure that bass. So it feels more human, but everything's lining up on a microscopic level. So that's why I quantize with the swing on it. So now we're getting more of a Tupac vibe. So I can go in here and maybe add some grand piano. So we're doing an inversion, second inversion here. Playing a G minor, just inverted. So now we're just gonna add these little bluesy type riff things. Sorry, my brain did. Okay, let's record this again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. So just allow the flaws there. All right, and so drag this out. We're gonna loop it. Just grab the top here, drag it over, so we don't have to keep doing that. So what else can we add? This the next big maybe some strings. I might have to do this from my keyboard. I don't think Logic has any string hits. Let me double check though. Now, what I should do with the drums is go dun 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 dun. I should do that with the bass to layer that movement. The bass shouldn't be like fighting with that rhythm, so I might need to go back and do it. So let me duplicate the bass. I think we need to try not to fight against the sample as much. So that's the. Let's turn off my keyboard and let's record this into the bass. So we'll use the first part of the bass, but then add that da-da-da-da-da part. All we're doing is playing G minor. Okay, let's record this in. All right, so I feel like that call and response is going to work a little bit better for this beat. So now I'm just going to go back, take out some of the timing stuff that clashes with that first bass. Okay, so now this should work with the sample a little bit better. So see how much time and thought goes into what we're doing. We're not just slapping Suno stuff together and just hitting export, which to each his own. I'm not saying everybody has to go this far with it, but I'm just showing you guys how you can have fun with Suno. Let me figure out what this part is here. Just chop this entire thing out. So I'm still learning like Logic workflow compared to FL Studio. A little bit different. And drag this over. Boom. All right. So now we have that. So I just need to quantize these notes. Quantize. So now we're not fighting. We're not trying to implant our rhythms over top of another rhythm. That's usually where amateurs kind of show their hand, is when their rhythms just don't match. It's like 7 rhythms in their beat. And that's the detail we need to go down to when we're using samples and adding music to it. Now the drums can stay the same in this case. All right, let's add some more bluesy sounds in here. Playing C minor. We don't have time to go through all the music theory here, so I'm just going to record it in.
like a diamond in the
Of course, my finger slips. Oh, man. Just adding little piano stuff in here. Now I'm debating if I want to go do 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 dun 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 dun. It's kind of copy the sample movement, but we already have that, so we don't want to like do too much. What else can we add in here? I don't know. Let's try. Just a little pitch bend stuff.
like a diamond in the
Just adding little ear candy type stuff. Since we're on this West Coast sound, we might as well see if we could add like a little G funk style lead. See if we can come up with a lead sound here. Put this on monophonic mode, legato. see what I could do for, let's see, what else can we do? Got a little glide in here. Let's add this like super sloppy lead in here. All right, so now we got that West Coast. I feel like there's too much movement. There's too much instrumental movement. So let's figure out what we could take out of the original beat. And for this vocal, I'm going to copy and paste it. So it goes, drag that out. And let's actually just, I'm going to hit Command C to copy it. Just paste it, Command, wait. Make sure we're on the same track. Hit Control V or Command V. So basically this will just hit. Now it's like a sample. Whoa, whoa. Oh, is it? I don't know what this. Let's see if we take it out. Does it make a difference? That's a nice texture, but I don't think we need it. Debating if I want to add another kick in here. So man, these drums, really got to get them. So instead of, okay, I'm going to redo the kick for like the third time here. And add a little bit more double kick. So ba-boom, ba-boom. So let's practice. Let's go back. I did too many double kicks. We got to do that again. So boom, ta, ba boom, boom, ta, ba boom, ta. Like that. Man, I always miss that double. Okay. All right, so the sustain pedal on the So hopefully you guys get the concept here. A lot of work, but that's how we're adding music to a sample. I might mute their bass too. It might be a little too distracting. So all these little factors add up to the grand scheme of everything. Okay, and then we're gonna drag the outro. Now, this isn't a full beat. I'm just putting all the puzzle pieces together. So let's hear from the very beginning and just listen to things that clash. And if we need anything, and I'll mix this as we listen. So all right, so I'm going to show you guys. This guitar sounds a little fake when you kind of hear it. So I think it's this one. See how it's kind of like smattery? We could compress it. That's one thing we could do. This will make it feel less like hollow, I guess. And then we could add a time delay using sample delay to widen it out. There's a little tinniness to it. I don't have time, again, to go through everything about everything here, but we're going to use this plugin here. Try to get rid of that harshness. So again, I would take more time to balance all this stuff out, but for the sake of the video, I'm not going to spend an hour mixing. trying to think of other things we could do to the mix. Like the hi-hats need to be nudged a little to the left, to the right, I mean. So, man, this is such a weird thing to mix because I have to mix the entire track, but try to avoid overly mixing. All right, so this plugin I would throw on. This stuff is way too bright. So let's run this back. I know this is a long process, y'all, but this is equivalent to us basically having a studio session, which is different than just producing beats by yourself. That's why I like Suno Studio. It puts you in a studio mindset, a session mindset. This part's a little loud. Let's give it one more playthrough. But again, the only difference I would make on this track is to automate the volume of this entire AI track. So I'm just going to do it manually, but that's the final kind of thing I would do. Also change the swing on the kick. I just want to see what it sounds like. I don't know if I like this heavier swing, but it does give more of that like Tupac. So I'm debating how much swing I want on this track, but I think this is the swing I want. Again, it's more of a creative decision. Let's play this one more time, and this is the last time though. I'm curious what this would sound like at a higher BPM. So 90 BPM has that best pocket. I'm not going to make this video any longer. It's already super long. Thank you guys for watching. Go to busyworksbeats.com/premium to find our Suno Studio course in the lifetime access. All right, yeah, guys, peace. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.